What's going on, everyone? Sam here with Appletree at the mobile Appletree office, the Astro van. We're down here at the hatchery in Washington. We're gonna do a how-to video. This is one of the best places in the world to learn to sup foil. So we're gonna do a how-to video here where we take Bria, stick her on one of these boards. Let her have her pick. They're both about 100 liters. That one in the back's 90, and let her go through the process of sup foiling. She's already a very talented rider. That should probably make it look pretty easy, but we'll have her do the visual, and I'll do the explanation side on the drone shots and some audio. Hope this helps you guys unlock something in your sup foil journey. All right, now to the drone part of the video where we've got a couple different drone shots here of Bria popping up onto foil. The first two are some failed attempts, and then the last one's a success. And we'll kind of talk through the process throughout the attempts here. So we'll get into it, and I'll sort of pause the video and explain stuff, maybe rewind as needed. Hopefully some of these tips will help you get through your plateau wherever you're at, push through the next progression here in your sup foil journey. So we got Bria here, and the conditions are quite marginal, as you can see. She's riding a 7'6" downwind skipper with a 970 square centimeter lift foil underneath it. She starts off here, obviously we all start on our knees and then we get to our feet. I think it's nice when you're on your knees to get a little bit of forward momentum in your paddle before you stand up. Forward momentum on the board creates flow over the board and foil and stabilizes everything, so it just makes it a little bit more stable side to side. You're also already have some speed induced for when you try to go full acceleration. You don't have to go from 0 to full acceleration and like get your tail out of the water and then go, right? You already have a little bit of flow that you can work with already. So right here Bria feels some energy in the river that she thinks she might be able to pop up on. So she gives it a go, right? It's a pretty quick realization that she's not going to get that wave. I think it's a combination of a couple different things. As you can see from the video, there's not a ton of energy there, so maybe it's a little bit of wave selection, but it's hard to judge for sure on the drone. Something that she does do here is before she really gets any forward movement on her board, she gets the board really loud. And by loud I mean she's really working the board up, down, and trying to get some pump going in the board and foil. I think some boards that you can get away with really twitching them early and they actually even like it. A more flatter sort of platform like this skipper downwind, it really needs to be quieter at the beginning and get some flow over the board before you start to pump it. What you're doing here, if you pump it too early, is you're just stalling the board out completely. You're disturbing all the flow over the board and the foil, and you're not gaining, you're not gaining at all. You're just hurting yourself. So she gets after the pump a little bit too early here, and it stalls her out. This shot here is, I think, a good shot to sort of show like wave selection and when to paddle on the wave. So you can see, there's actually a lot of current right here just off of the put in, and you can see she's kind of in a set right here, and she's getting thrown down the backside of a wave that just passed her, right? If she felt that this was a good wave to paddle into, right about here where you're just now getting thrown down the backside is when you want to start to paddle for the wave behind it. She did decide that this was a wave that she wants to go for, and she's pretty good about making that decision, right? She's kind of in the trough when she starts her paddle, maybe a little bit late, but generally you can get away with it if it's the right wave selection, and she gives it a go, right? She keeps the board much quieter here as she gets like sort of over the crest of the wave, and that just allows her to accelerate up to hull speed much easier. And that wave kind of picks her up and throws her. Right here, it's pretty much textbook. I would say she's going to get up onto foil, and she really does. You can see she, like, the foil's engaging here, and she's 10 to 20% of the way of being up onto foil. In conditions like this, right, you might have a wave that can kick you and get you up to foil speed, but then you really need to be super perfect about your pump and paddle on foil speed to then get you to the next wave that you can now just glide and chill in, right? And this wave just kind of petered out on her, and she wasn't able to push through to that next stage of the pop-up process. And, sometimes that just happens. It doesn't matter how good or new you are to the sport. Sometimes you're just going to have failed attempts, and that's just foiling. But those are two really good sort of failed attempts that I think illustrate some of the aspects of popping up on the subfoil. So I think this one's the success, and you can see actually earlier in this, she's on her knees. She's kind of out of frame, but she's on her knees here, and she's paddling forwards, right? It's much easier, I think, to get from your knees to feet if you have a little bit of forward momentum on your board. Pops up onto her feet, and she keeps that forward momentum. She just keeps a nice, say, 30% energy paddle stroke forwards. I think that energy output is way easier than just trying to balance on a stagnant board. And she's just prepping herself, getting her feet in the right spot on the board for when she's ready to take off. And now she's just waiting for a wave. Some people feel the wave coming by. Some people look over their shoulder to find a nice set coming to paddle into. There's no real right or wrong way to do that aspect of the process. Whatever sort of works for you. I wait and I listen for a nice set to come by. I wait for that first wave to pass me by to give me the heads up, like, hey, like, one of these waves you'll probably be able to get up on. And you can start to feel the energy build in the water. That's something that just takes time out there on the river or on the ocean. So she's just gaining her balance, right? That was like a little weird side wave that threw her off balance, and she's just getting set for a nice one to come through here. Just sort of waiting, giving yourself that paddle stroke and feeling it out. So right here, right, that wave passed her by, and it's all setting up right in here to just kind of be one of those really nice, easy takeoffs where it just kind of picks you up and chucks you forward. She acknowledges this right here, that like, oh wait, this one's actually, maybe initially she didn't feel like it was going to go, and now she's like, yeah, this one's going to get me up onto foil. So she's paddling maybe a little bit late in the typical process, but she decided to go for it because she thinks it's forming nicely for her. Gives it the paddle process. Nope, that one doesn't go. And then here we go. The third one in the set comes by, and it just lines up perfectly for her. Keeps the board nice and quiet and paddles through. And you notice how she's still, even when she's still, like, she's on foil, but she's still paddling. That's super important. That's a great habit to be into. You don't want to quit on the paddle too early, right? Because you might, go for your pump and push through your front leg a little bit. And if you've already brought the paddle out of paddle position, that's going to be the difference between getting up and not getting up. But boom, she's up onto foil. And now she's just sort of picking your wave, picking the energy, finding that next bump in the river here. And a lot of that part of the process depends on, what foil you're on, I guess. If you're on a fast foil for the waves, you can typically punch through to a wave in front of you. You can find that wave in front of you and get to it. I think the easiest process is working right or left and finding a wave kind of perpendicular to your line. You see here she works left, and then she peels down into the wave, and now she's pumping forwards to a set in front of her that she sees. She's just gliding and making turns in that set, and you can just sort of turn to scrub speed and stay in a set. If you just were to glide straight on it, you'd run out of the wave pretty quick. You're either going to have to glide left or right or make some turns to stay in the pocket. And finding that next bump in the river can take a few pumps. So you got to, I would say start to pump earlier rather than later, especially. It's way easier to maintain speed pumping than gain speed pumping, I think. So if you start your pumping process to your next wave earlier rather than later, I think that's a higher success rate of getting from point A to point B, wherever you're going. So that's the rundown of some tips on getting up onto the sup foil and finding those bumps once you're up. I hope this video helped you guys out. If you have any questions, please give us a shout. Thanks.